And good morning good afternoon to each and every one of you. So I'm Bertille Mazari, and today with my colleague Clément, we'll be presenting the two use cases that we've been working on Grist. Well, there is more, but the two are more interesting, I would think, to be worth presenting. As we've got some slideshow that we can first rely on, and then we'll go more into overview of what the Grist instances are. So we both, Clément and I, are working at Open Source Politics. So Open Source Politics is a company that was founded 10 years ago, well, almost 10 years ago. And historically, we are deploying participatory platform software. So DCTIM is a participatory platform software that is open source, and we are deploying it among institutions, municipalities, mainly across France, but also among Europe and abroad. Like we are also working with New York City, for instance. And the main part of it is that it's a platform that enables the citizens to participate more into the public debate and to make proposals for their cities or for their national debates. It depends on the use cases. And today we will be focusing on two main cases that we are working with Marseille and Malakoff. In which we have been using Grist for now a year, I think. With Marseille was a year and a half, I think, ago that we started working with Grist. And it was actually our first use case ever with Grist. We've done some progress since, but it is still a use case that is worth presenting, and we've made a second edition with the city of Marseille that is even more interesting and deep into the use of Grist. And for a bit more of context with our use cases and use of Grist is that we've had not known about it for before 2 years ago. And it was with the ANCT and DINUM that we've heard about Grist, and it was a key software that has enabled us to find solutions for tricky problems that municipalities encountered for the management of their participatory project. I'll go deeper into that in a few minutes. Maybe I can first explain to you what is a participatory budgeting, because it will be the frame of our first use case. So the city of Marseille is the second largest city in France and has implemented participatory budgeting, as many of cities in France also have done, but also across the world. Participatory budgeting is when a city decides to allow a certain amount of their budget to the citizen will. In the meaning that for the case of Marseille, they decided the municipality board decided to put 3 million in the table for the decision of the citizens. So the citizens have to submit proposals on a platform. So our platform is called Decidim, as I mentioned before. And so they can submit proposals from the different themes, like culture, nature, solidarity, and sport. And then the municipality has to analyze them. And that is when we are going to use Grist, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. Once the city has analyzed and made projects out of those proposals, then there is a vote. That is a third step of participatory budgeting. And so here the citizens are invited to vote for the project that they like the most, sorry. And finally, there are some winning projects among the ones that were proposed. And then the city announces the winners and realizes and implements those projects. And we've been working for more than 100 municipalities, and we've dealt with maybe 80 participatory budgeting across France, but also elsewhere. And the trickiest part was this one, because there was no solutions, no easy solution for the municipalities to manage the proposals that were submitted by the citizens. They were all using Excels or Google Sheets or equivalents, and that was messy and took very much long time, and they didn't know which version was the exact one and how to dispatch them among the different directions of the municipalities. Here, in the case of Marseille, it was when we first used Grist, it was their first ever participatory budgeting. So we had the luck we've been lucky to start from scratch with them. So they trusted us to use Grist, and it was quite funny and also challenging because it was, as I said, it was our first Grist use case. So we've discovered the software as well as we were working with the city. So they were very kind. They had 3 months to analyze the proposition. So I'm here talking about the second edition, so this year's edition. The first one was a huge success, but the second one was an even more greater success. There was more than 1,600 proposal submissions. They had 3 months to analyze the submissions, and those submissions were analyzed by more 18 municipal departments and reunited 47 staff members that were all collaborating at the same time and sometimes at the same times, but on the same Grist documents. There were also a new challenge of this in this edition. It was that they had to answer to the submitted proposals. Well, that is actually normal, and we've done it with Decidim, but they also had the will to send an email to each participant of the participatory budgeting that has submitted a proposals. And last year they also done it, but they did it manually. So they opened their email senders, and each by one they were sending manually the emails, which took them, I think, three weeks to do so. Called a huge time loss. And they asked us to find a solution with Grist to be able to do so in a more convenient way. So I'm going to show you to showcase the Grist instances that we've launched for them. So it is the area of the MOPPC, which is the Directory of Participation Democracy in Marseille. So they are a group of 5 who are dealing with this sheet and are owner of this sheet. The thing that is interesting and that we are still working on is that they did not do the Grist configurations. So we are the one who implemented the data that they wanted, who actually conceived it, and we were like discussing each and every week or 2 weeks to know what they wanted more and to implement the configuration that they want and to make the sheet evolve. But they did not learn how to do so. We wanted them to, because we find it more interesting for them to be learning it. But in the 2 editions, they didn't really either had the will or the time, but also the competencies, the knowledge to do so. So we've done it for them, and they were just implementing data on the sheets. So what we've done is that we've took all the proposals, all the 687 proposals, and we've put them into the Grist files. And we've kept the relevant columns in it so that the staff could follow them and start to aggregate them and to analyze them. The first step was to categorize them among certain categories. So we've been, they've defined all the categories that they were going to deal with, and they correlate them with the relevant services or department that were going to analyze the different categories. Sometimes one department could analyze more than 10 categories, and so there were some crossovers between departments that on one proposition. One proposition could be analyzed by 5 different departments, and the challenge was that each department could not see what the other department had written. It was a decision of Marseille. We could have done differently, but that's how they decided to implement it. And so first, so as I said, we've correlated the department to the categories. And then we've made a quick formula to be able that categories that we encounter here were attributed to one project, then automatically the department that were concerned, well, not concerned, but were relevant, were attributed to the category. So that was also a huge time winning for the services, because usually in other municipalities they do it one by one. So they look at each submitted proposals and see, okay, it's about sports, so which department should we attribute, and they do it manually. So that was a huge difference for them. And then we can't see them, I think, anymore. But we had a column for each services department in which they could write down their analyses, and only the MOPPC was able to read them and go back to the department for more infos. Then they were really also happy to have a map, because the cities have a need to have both an analyze that is written, like they did on the proposal and comment, but also have a territorial cartographic analyze and see how the proposals are implemented, well, dispatched, I don't know how to say it in English, among the city. And so we see a huge concentration here into the city center, which is actually normal and well, logical. But they also use this map all along the proposal submission part in order to facilitate the work that had been done on the field. I'll explain myself. There is both the platform, but also agent, civil servant that go on the field to collect proposals. And so they were seeing that there was a huge concentration on the cities in the city center. So they put on an effort on the southern neighborhoods to go and collect proposals in physics. And so in a sort of recalibration, I don't know how to say it, of the cities territories. So that was also a huge help and a huge analyze that was enabled. Another thing that I could show also to you is the projects part, because all those propositions, well, the 1600 propositions were also merged into projects. Once the different departments said, okay, it's doable, and we are going to find a place for those projects, and we'll do it, then it goes to the project parts, and the MOPPC has to merge the projects, the proposals that are on the same territory, on the same neighborhoods, but also that's also look alike. So here is the project part, and for each project they found a title, and here are the related proposals. So they went through each proposals and assigned to them a project. And they had the need to see which proposals were allocated to which project. And that's why we use this column, the reference column. And so the MOPPC was able, by clicking on it, to see all the details of the proposals, because sometimes they had fluctuations, or a project that had some similitude or in the nearby. And so one proposition could go from one project to another, and they had to see the details at all times. So that's why we use this functionality. And also a point that I didn't mention was the fact that the MOPPC did not wanted for the different departments to see all the proposals, but also all the projects. So we've made restrictions also to either the columns, but also the lines. So here, as the owner of the sheet, I can see all the proposals, like more than, I don't know, 1600. But if I go as another civil servant, I don't know, here, Monsieur Coste, he'll see less, I don't know how to say it in English, but less sheets. And also just 2 proposals because only 2 were affected to him. So that was one main ask from the city to restrain both columns but also row access. So I talked, yes, about the project. And as I said earlier, one of the main tasks was to enable the MOPPC to send emails and to all the people that has submitted proposals, and to do it in an automated version. So what we've done is that we've created some templates for accepted and denied proposals. So for when there were certain answers, either the proposal was accepted or denied, and there was some beginning, end, and sometimes middle text, so that we could aggregate and format an answer. Another part of this process and the need was to implement the link that the title that the title of the proposition that the citizen had submitted. So we had to implement some variables and to link the email and to integrate the title into the email and make sure that the the title was correlated to the person who had submitted the proposals. And so we've used this table here, and as I shown earlier, all the related proposals are displayed here, and if to the project are displayed here, and if I click on it, well, I think well, no, they hide the names, but here I can see the names and the address email of all proposition submission by citizens. So we've made there is a correlation between the projects. Okay, it is a project so it is accepted. So here we'll go find the email address and the proposal's title that is related to the accepted projects. And we've done a webhook with N8N to automate the task to send the emails. And we've linked it also to email sender that is called Mailjet, with the City of Marseille's URL, this part here. So it was sent by marseille.fr. And we've been able to do it in like a few days. We've been testing for the first time this email sending. So it was quite an R&D for us, and Marseille trusted us for us, so that's cool. And the email have been sent in, I think, if I remember correctly, in 1 hour. So it was a huge time gain when we think about the 3 weeks that they had spent on it last year. So it was a good progress for us. And finally, at the end, we had still this page of projects, and we had to implement them on Decidim. And so we've exported this sheet and implemented it on Decidim. And here you can see all the projects that has been submitted into the different areas of the city. Here you can find it. And the citizen has already a vote, and the results will be disclosed in a week, I think, or in 2 weeks. So it's still ongoing. We've got some improvement that we want to implement for the next year's edition. It will be to connect the Decidim platform to the Grist, because we wanted to do that also last year, but we hadn't found the time to do so because it's quite hard with the Decidim API. And also, we would like to implement an SSO authentication for local authorities. Well, we know how to do it. We've already done it for other Grist platforms, but we want now to do it with the city of Marseille because there was still some issues in the connection process and subscription process for the 50 civil servants that wanted to work on the sheet, so it will be easier for them to connect. I think I'm done, and I'm going to leave the floor to Clément to talk about the use case of Malakoff, and I'll be happy to answer your question if you have some. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Bertille. I'll just share my screen. One sec. Right. So hi, everyone. The use case I want to showcase is not that crazy in terms of Grist functionalities, but the project itself is very inspiring. And the fact that Grist can make that possible, I find it very cool. So I have less than 10 minutes, so I'll try to speedrun my presentation. So for a bit of context, in France, we elect the mayor of our cities every 6 years. Last time was in 2020, so we are now reaching the end of their terms. And most of the time, there is no real assessment of the work that has been done by the municipality. And the only way to express your approval is through the next elections. Nick is telling me something about the... Can you see me well? Or
It's your
Bertille?
screenshot. It's zoomed in. We can see. We can't. This is zoomed
You
in.
can't...
No.
Qu'est-ce qui est zoomé?
We can see a part of the slide.
No, I can unzoom.
Maybe you can
Unmove.
make full screen pour le diaporama. Tu peux faire plein écran.
That's what I did. Maybe if I do that. Maybe if I move somewhere else.
No, it's still the same.
Same?
I can display the
Oh, it's not that
slide.
not actually it's not that important, but for the Grist part will be more. Can you see something here?
Yeah, can you send me the link? Maybe I can display my screen.
Yep.
I don't know
Actually,
if
no.
no.
Because it's on my own Grist, and you don't have the credentials.
If you zoom out, Clément, I think if you
Yeah?
keep zooming out on the Grist one, we can see a good chunk.
You can see a good chunk here.
We just won't be able to see the right side.
The right side, there's
Really?
nothing on the right side.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, good. All right, so what I was saying is that we are soon going to have new elections, and that we don't really do like real assessment of the work that has been done by the elected people. And well, the only way we have is to actually like change the next elections. But that being said, Malakoff, like a small city of 30,000 inhabitants around that, they decided to formalize this assessment in a public way by directly involving all the citizens in the process. So they created what we call the Citizen Observatory of Municipal Commitments. That's the closest translation I could come up with. So we like this idea a lot because it promotes transparency and also it promotes accountability for elected people. So how did they do that, this project? So the city, they randomly selected 40 citizens, and those citizens had to comment, like give their opinion on the level of achievement of every promises that were made 5 years ago by the mayor. Once that was done, then the administration, like the civil servants and the elected people, they had to analyze those comments within the Grist file, and then they have to give answers to the public directly. So the three cool things I like about this use case, before I show it to you, is that there's a lot of diversity in the Grist users. They were not only professionals, they're also random citizens and elected people with zero tech background, I would say. And this case shows that, I mean, I think it's a great example of how digital tools can fit in our democracies. Like Grist was one of the tools, but of course not the only one. They also organized big public meetings and like assemblies to discuss with the citizens. So it's a good blend of digital tools and also like real life tools. So yep, let's go into it because I don't have much time. So you see my screen. We obviously have a user table. This user table, we say there's about like 100 users. You can see that those users have been assigned some roles. So we have the citizens, civil servants, the elected people. And of course, this table was used as an attribute table to set the access rules. And with a few simple, basic lookup records, I can have a few informations about, for instance, every citizens. I can tell how many comments they have done about the promises. And for the elected people and the agents, I can see how many promises they have to work on. So it's just a few basic lookup formula that I'm sure everyone knows how to do in the audience. Then you have the promises page, which is like basically the list of all the promises that the mayor did 5 years ago. So those promises, they are grouped by categories, thematics. So we have like 5 main thematics, sub-thematics. You can see that you can see here like a reference column with people inside. That is because at first we wanted to match like departments from the administration with certain categories of the promises, but unfortunately we couldn't really match them consistently, so we had to manage the access rules on an individual basis. So yeah, eventually we had to use this kind of reference column with the we can just say, okay, this person we'll have to work on this this specific promise. And then yeah, the idea is that in the working process, like the next step, they can only see the promises that they are assigned to. So it's just simple access rules. So how did it work? Basically, if I were if I were to sign up or sign in as a citizen, I would just see those 5 pages here, which are just 5 filtered pages by thematics, by categories. And the citizen will just scroll into the different categories to see every promise. And well, they could comment on it, so give their opinion, and also tell if they find it well, if they think it's done, it's partially done, or actually not done at all. So those 5 tables, obviously, they would feed this main page of commentaries. This is kind of the database of all the commentaries done by all the 40 citizens about all the promises. So this is a lot because there are more than 2,200 comments. So it would be a bit complicated for the civil servants to analyze all of them. So what we did is like a first filter. So 1 or 2 civil servants, they had a specific job, was to read all of them and to select the comments that would be analyzed later by the elected people and the agents. So if, for instance, if I click on this, or I check the box or I uncheck the box, then the comment would appear in this kind of synthetic page where the agents, the civil servants, and the elected people will connect, and I could choose for all the promises. If I click on one promises, this one, then here I have the list of all the comments that have been selected by my coworkers here. So I have like an overview of the most relevant comments, and based on that, as a civil servant or as an elected person, I can give my answer to the citizens. So it's kind of just a selection of the most relevant comments that I can then use and to create my analysis. And the time is almost up, but of course so this is like a smaller version of the document because I couldn't use the production one. So it's like a copy of it with less features, but we used a few basic widgets from Grist to get like interesting informations, like sorted by categories, the proportion of promises that were considered as realized, not realized, or partially realized. We can imagine a lot of other the graphics. But yeah, that was like that was my short presentation, just to show you that we can use Grist for very meaningful and very interesting projects in the field of democracy.
I mean, I do the newsletters for Grist, and I come up with these stupid little example projects to show off features. But like
Yeah.
this is the complete far end of the spectrum where it's actually working for like making municipalities work. It's just amazing to see. I can't get enough of it. So thank you so much, both of you, for letting us take a peek at how this is happening. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's something you hope is happening, but you just don't believe it until you see it. So that's been awesome.
Yeah.
All
Thanks.
right. Thanks so much. And yeah, if anyone has questions, we can connect you guys after. But want to make sure that we give Evan the appropriate time.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having
Thank
us.
you. Bye.